says digital on it though, because it's the only strap I have.
Film photography, for the most part, can be a rewarding hobby for newcomers, but it's essential to consider the financial implications and not let FOMO drive all your decisions. Start small, make a budget, and just remember that your passion and creativity are what make your work special. Because everyone knows that a white border around your Instagram post makes you better than everyone else. No! Now, some of you might have a much smaller budget than I do, and some of you have a much bigger one. I'm looking at you, X-Pan elitists. And it's possible you've stumbled on a few goodies out there that they don't make anymore. But what if I was to tell you that you didn't have to break the bank to achieve this look? Specifically, one very popular effect in particular, Aerochrome. Or at least something damn near close. But we'll get to that in a bit. Aerochrome, or Kodak Aerochrome as it was officially known, was a unique type of infrared film developed by Kodak during the 1940s, originally designed for military reconnaissance and surveillance during World War II, inverting lush greens into vibrant reds and pinks. If you want to buy a single roll of this sucker today, be prepared to never own a house. I mean, I never will, but that's probably because I bought too much avocado toast. Though discontinued in 2009, Aerochrome remains iconic in the photography community for its distinct aesthetic and historical significance. But budget friendly, it is not. Thankfully, the amazing team over at Modified has been on this case for many moons, taking the existing stock of Lomo Purple and, well, modifying it, giving us not only a close swing to that desired effect, but an in-camera chemical solution that is just about as close as we can get in 2024. Or is it? Like I said a few weeks ago, this film is super interesting, but you're gonna have to wait till next episode to figure out what it is. Maybe it was even longer ago than that. Met up with my buddy Jeremy from Pine Brook Pictures, or maybe a few other secret projects you might have also heard about. Man, this video's been a long time in the making. After a couple months of experimenting and maybe a little bit of procrastination, we finally have my final thoughts put together. Because in all honesty, I didn't want to rush this one. This extended amount of time is giving me the chance to not only test this film in different surroundings, but different seasons. You know that whole heat wave we're going through right now? This video started in the snow. So really quick thank you again to Jeremy from Modified for not only providing roles for this video, but being such a passionate individual and allowing me the chance to capture my findings and report them back to you. You guys already know it's not a photo road trip without my old pal Alex hitching a ride in the Subaru.
I got the goods!
So without much thought, we made tracks for Big Bear and hoped our negligence to forget chains wouldn't dampen our chances to reach the lake that day.
This is like a small village. How you feeling? Gas prices are insane right now.
I was interested in seeing the nature of this film with the rich greens and the mountains contrasted by the snow. I just had to hope that the cloud cover would pass before the end of our trip because this effect works best in direct close sunlight.
I don't even know if this is a parking spot. Should have 125. Wait. It says digital on it though, because it's the only strap I have.
I know, you might be thinking to yourself, William, did you just shoot directly into the sun? Yes, I did. This first shot is getting a lot of flare from the morning light. Now, I did say this stock needed UV, but this is probably the wrong direction for the intended effect. But looking at the nearby trees, this shows the angle and direction means everything when it comes to light. As the sun began to peek out from behind the clouds, so did the pop of reds and pinks across the valley. Now, I've been to Big Bear a few times, but I've never seen it covered like this. Most first rolls of the day kind of have this sort of warm-up period when you're taking pictures.
This Dodge is pretty tight. I don't think I'm going to take a photo of it though.
And knowing the change this look had really affected the way I was reading scenes. So we retreated inside a local photography shop across the street, only to find out it was a digital print shop and distributor of camping supplies.
What'd you think of the photo shop? It was a camping store. Deer. Try to do that photographer thing when you get the edges. Want to go inside?
No. This next change in location finally put things in a groove, which allowed me to take my first shot that I really think nails this ability that the film is capable of. Without a doubt, the foliage here has been transformed into something out of this world. Is it the best shot? Not at all. But using this knowledge in the right setting has a lot of potential. So today's like kind of a good day because there's sunshine, but there's also clouds. So it's not also a good day. Due to a lot of the roads and hiking trails being closed off for the season, we had to keep things pretty simple when finding places to shoot. Luckily, every inch of Big Bear this time of year is beautiful. You don't want to go on it? This vibrant pine tree framed by the deep blue of Big Bear is probably my most successful recreation of a somewhat true-looking Aerochrome shot. Not only is it typical for the greens to switch to vibrant reds, but bodies of water are famously a rich blue due to infrared light captured in the reflection. This shot of the cabin across the lake might be my favorite from the day. The tree line and the cabin became something more out of a J.J. Abrams Star Trek movie than a winter getaway, and I love it. I did really enjoy this first roll of Modified, but with how dodgy the sun was most of the day, we needed to drown our sorrows in some pretty mediocre pizza before heading back down the mountain.
There's a peanut butter pizza. It has mozzarella, peanut butter, what's peanut butter honey? Right?
It's like a hot honey, but peanut butter.
It's $11.99, it's not bad.
And if we stopped it here, that would be fine. But when I got this first roll back from the lab, things were looking kind of mediocre for this video. Not because I think the stock looks bad, but I'm not sure I'd really done enough justice to what it can do for the location we chose. So I knew I had to shoot another one. I had honestly originally planned for the super bloom during the springtime, but my sister got married, things were a little busy back then, so the timing never worked out before that opportunity closed. So Christy had this awesome idea to take me to the Huntington Library in Pasadena, which in all honesty was probably the perfect place to showcase Modified. It may have been overcast that day, but I still had some pretty incredible results. Along with my Rebel 2000, I brought my 50mm 1.8 for that slightly more consistent perspective and that lower f-stop for the most amount of light we could get, just because the lighting was strange that day. And instead of shooting Modified at 125, I shot this at 100 ISO in hopes of retaining as much of the reds and pinks as possible. Something I did notice when shooting this film at 100 instead of 125 was the slight variance in colors. My Big Bear roll has a lot more reds and magentas, like it's a brighter stock, whereas the second roll is almost light pink. But I do think more light introduced to this film just changes the color a bit. I love this statue photo because with the color shifts and the dismembered head, it really feels like another planet. And since this was an overcast day, you might be skeptical about how accurate these colors are. Was there any Photoshop trickery? Only slight enhancements to the saturation were given for a small bump to help sell the colors in this muted lighting. But overexposing a stop or two really helped me find a sweet spot when it came to my images.
Those windows are so cool.
I really love this shot of Christy disappearing into the void of the Japanese gardens. All it needs is some dark fantasy TikTok music underneath, and the final form of this adventure is complete. These two gentlemen were kind enough to let me take their photo, and wow, this is Modified. Truly, this is the quality of this stock at its finest. What an absolute feast of colors. The bonsai tree portion of the gardens was almost cheating when it came to interesting compositions. Really beautiful scenery and displays for Modified to switch up its interpretation. I can't tell you why, but this shot is my favorite in the entire set. The texture of the grass, the framing of the trees, In all honesty, with the lighting, it almost resembles its true nature of Loma Purple, but with just a hint of modification. Something I've never really seen before. Did the sun ever come out that day? Not even once. But luckily, I had good company and still left a few shots on the roll for later experiments. Some full sun, some indoor sun, and why the f not? No sun whatsoever. Using a stock like this for nighttime photography might have been the strangest or the dumbest thing I've ever done. But the results honestly weren't that bad. Now I do have to warn you, Jeremy is a sick man.
Cinestill did nothing wrong.
Not only is Modified available for $35, but now it's also available in $120. And now that I got the Pentax, I'm dying to get my hands on some pretty soon. There are plenty of digital solutions or emulators out there where you can achieve the look of Aerochrome. But at the end of the day, those will always be ones and zeros making that effect. There's nothing wrong with that. But this is the only way I see where you can get a chemical in-camera solution without spending an insane amount of money on an expired stock. And that alone is something to celebrate. But is Modified Film a modern day solution to Aerochrome? Yes and no. I'd say it captures the fun and some of the functionality of shooting Aerochrome, but if you're expecting this passion project to resemble something that hasn't been in production for almost 15 years, you're gonna be a little disappointed, I think. It isn't infrared film, it's color negative, kind of emulating the look of something that doesn't exist anymore. Not because Modified doesn't look awesome, it's just not the right way to think about it. If you analyze Richard Moss's work from the Congo, where he used Aerochrome to highlight a subject to further tell his selected story, he really wasn't using Aerochrome correctly. He picked something that had been designated an extension of war, and used that to further enhance his storytelling. Essentially, he used it wrong, and that's why it works. Sure, there are plenty of artists in the 60s and 70s who use this stock for trippy album covers, but I believe it's Moss's work that is the true pillar of what gives this look a renaissance and historical value in the community. So my suggestion would be to consider Modified another tool that you can use incorrectly to tell your stories. After these two outings, I almost look at it like a black and white film, allowing light to highlight my intentions but not expect the effect to do all the heavy lifting, which is probably the wrong way to use it. But that's kind of the point, isn't it?